My name is Ashley. I'm 34 years old. And I've always been the responsible older sister. Not the favorite, not the rebel, not the golden child. Just the one who shows up on time, pays the bills, and never forgets a birthday. I work in finance, I live alone, and I'm not the kind of person who causes a scene. My family, they're loud, close-knit at least on the surface. And they've mastered the art of acting like everything's perfect while sweeping every real issue under the rug. I was always standing just outside the circle, involved but not included, invited to the weddings but never called over for the photos. It's that kind of person. Growing up, my younger sister Kate was the star. Charismatic, reckless, always in some kind of trouble and somehow always landing on her feet. She had that infuriating charm that made our parents adore her, like she was spun from sugar. Even when Kate dropped out of college, lost 2 jobs, and moved back home at 28, our parents treated her like the second coming of Einstein. Meanwhile, I paid my own tuition, held the same job for over a decade, and even helped cover part of the mortgage when Dad's hours were cut back. But none of that seemed to matter. At least not enough to earn me a place at the literal family table. Still, I told myself I didn't mind. Or at least I tried to believe that. I kept my head down, sent the checks, replied to the emails, showed up for holidays, and smiled through all the little jabs dressed up as jokes. Ashley, you're so serious, you should relax more. Oh, we figured you'd be too busy. You're always working. I let it slide. Maybe deep down, I believed that if I just kept showing up, one day they'd see me as part of the family, not just the background financial support, but someone who truly belonged. That illusion shattered last fall. But this isn't just a revenge story. This is the story of a woman discovering her own worth and a family being forced to learn what real connection means. Anyone over the age of 65 will probably understand how complex families can become over the years and how important it is to mend what's been broken. It all started with dinner. Kate had just gotten engaged to a man named Ben, whom our mother had already dubbed an absolute angel. He worked for a local architecture firm, steady, sensible, the opposite of Kate's chaos. Our parents decided to host a big engagement dinner at a trendy rooftop restaurant downtown. The kind of place they'd usually never splurge on. Looking back, that should have been the first red flag. A few weeks before, Mom called me. "Ashley, sweetie," she said, in that syrupy tone she used to use when she wanted something. "It would mean so much if you came to Kate and Ben's engagement dinner. It's going to be such a special night. Kate is really hoping you will be there." Of course, I replied without hesitation. "Just send me the details." "There's one small favor," she added in a hushed voice. "I was hoping you could help us secure the reservation. Just for now, I'll pay you back later. You're better at these fancy places than I am." I should have known then that "I'll pay you back later" meant you'll never see that money again. But as usual, I agreed. Told myself it was for my sister's big day. I called the restaurant, reserved a private area for 20 people, and put the deposit on my credit card. I didn't care. Really. This was Kate's night. And maybe, just maybe this time, I'd actually feel like I belonged. The night of the dinner, I arrived right on time, -7 p.m. sharp. I wore a navy dress, the nice one I'd been saving, and a pearl necklace I'd kept for special occasions. I brought a lovely bottle of champagne for the couple and even printed a custom card with their initials. Inside, I wrote, "To Kate and Ben, may your new life together be filled with joy. Wishing you endless happiness. With love, Ashley." When I reached the rooftop, the hostess gave me a polite nod and led me to the private section. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. The space was stunning. String lights above, floral centerpieces on each table, a soft jazz band playing in the corner. Everyone was there: our parents, Kate, Ben, his family, a few friends. They were already holding drinks, laughing, talking, and clinking glasses. I smiled and walked in, expecting at least a nod of acknowledgement. Instead, Kate turned toward me with that all too familiar smug smile. "Oh, hi Ash," she said, barely glancing at the champagne in her hand. "Glad you made it. But..." She gestured toward a fold-out chair placed awkwardly near the trash bins. "Sorry. These tables are for family only," she said, oozing fake sympathy. "But there's a seat over there for you. Thought you'd enjoy some peace and quiet." I blinked. I thought it was a joke. I looked at Mom. She just smiled tightly, the expression she used when she didn't want to get involved. Dad gave me an awkward smile and raised his glass. Ben looked confused but said nothing. And then some of them laughed. They actually laughed. I stood there for a few moments, unable to speak. My throat tightened, ears burning. I felt 13 again, like the time I was excluded from a cousin's wedding photo because I didn't fit the aesthetic. So I walked over to the chair, set down the champagne, and sat. I didn't even take off my coat. A waiter approached and asked if I was with the party. I nodded silently. He didn't ask anything else, just handed me a glass of water and left. But I saw it. That flicker of sympathy in his eyes. I sat there for almost 2 hours, watching them laugh, toast, open gifts. I listened as Kate gave a speech about how lucky she was to be surrounded by her favorite people. I watched Ben refer to Mom as the future best mother-in-law, and Mom tear up with pride. No one asked if I wanted to order. Then dessert arrived. A multi-layered cake with edible gold leaf. The band played something slow. The sun dipped below the skyline. And I realized no one had looked in my direction for over 30 minutes. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about a seat. This was about what my family really thought of me. And then the bill came. I watched the waiter walk toward the table, holding a small leather folder. He paused, looked around, then glanced down at the credit card inside. My card. I watched him walk toward me. "Excuse me," he said gently. "The total for the event is $5,218. Would you like me to charge the final balance to the same card?" Everyone at the table turned to look at me. Kate raised an eyebrow. "Oh, right," she said, waving a hand. "Ash is covering it. Like always." The waiter looked at me. I smiled. Calm, steady, controlled. My voice was steady. "That's not my table," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I was told it's for family only." The silence cut through the air like glass. Kate's mouth fell open. Mom looked confused. Dad straightened his spine. Ben's father, a stern man who owned a construction firm, frowned. The waiter hesitated. "Mom, you made the reservation." "I did," I nodded. "I paid the deposit. I ordered the custom floral arrangements. I called 3 restaurants to find this venue. But I'm not with them." I was seated at side table. I stood up slowly, took my coat, and nodded toward the trash can. Apparently that's where I belong. You could have heard a pin drop. No one moved. The waiter stood awkwardly between tables, holding the bill like it was radioactive. Kate looked like she'd been slapped with a fish. Mom squinted at the space between me and the folder, trying to figure out how this spiraled so fast. "Wait, Ashley," Mom said in a low, shaky voice. "What are you doing?" I shrugged. "Just following the seating chart, Mom. Kate said this table was for family only. I understood that I wasn't included." I looked at the waiter. "I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I wasn't welcomed. So I won't be paying." "This is ridiculous." Kate snapped, her smile twisting into something ugly. It was just a joke. Lighten up. You always take everything so personally. That's not like you. The room fell silent. Even the jazz band seemed to dissolve into an awkward hum. Every eye was on me, and for the first time in years, I didn't shrink under the weight of it. Exactly, I said slowly. That's the problem. Everything's a joke when someone else is paying the price. Ben looked confused, like he was only now beginning to grasp that something real had happened. His father, a distinguished man in a blazer who had barely spoken all evening, turned to Kate with a sharp gaze. "You invited this woman to your engagement dinner and seated her next to the trash?" he asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. Kate scoffed and turned to Mom for backup. Mom straightened in her chair and smiled tightly. "Let's not blow things out of proportion. Ashley's just being dramatic. She's always been sensitive. Ever since she was little." I almost laughed. That was her classic script, too sensitive, just tired, overreacting. Excuses to avoid acknowledging that something cruel had occurred and that they had allowed it. The waiter cleared his throat. "Excuse me, but before we close out the private space tab, the restaurant does require payment. If the card on file won't be used, we'll need an alternative." Silence. I turned and started walking toward the elevator. That's when Dad finally spoke. "Ashley, come on. You've already paid half, you might as well just finish it." I froze. That sentence, "might as well just finish it," snapped something inside me. "You're right, Dad. I paid the deposit. I called 3 restaurants to find one with the rooftop view Kate wanted. I adjusted the date around her schedule. I ordered custom floral arrangements because Mom said fake flowers look cheap in pictures. I paid a $500 non-refundable deposit without blinking. I showed up on time, dressed up, alone, to support my sister." My voice lowered but didn't waver. "And in return, I got a folding chair next to the garbage and a 'sorry, this table is for family only.'" I looked at Kate. "So now it's your turn. You and your real family can figure it out." Kate's face had turned a deep red, climbing up her neck. She stood up, trying to assert control, but it only made her look more ridiculous. "You're the one making a scene." "No," I said calmly. "I'm setting a boundary." And then I left. I didn't wait for the elevator, I took the stairs. One step after another, carried by adrenaline and the surreal clarity that comes when you finally do the thing you've always wanted to do. The night air hit me like a slap when I stepped outside. Sharp, clean. I just kept walking. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I wasn't going back. I thought that would be the end of it. A bold exit. A few awkward apologies later. Maybe a half-hearted attempt to sweep it all under the rug. What I didn't realize was just how far the impact of that moment would reach, or that it would mark the beginning of something deeper, something that would force our entire family to finally grow. Later that night, back home, still in my dress, still holding that unopened champagne bottle like a phantom limb, my phone lit up. The first was a text from Kate. "Seriously? You couldn't just pay the bill and talk to me later?" Then one from Mom. "You embarrassed us in front of Ben's entire family. Was that your goal? Revenge?" Then a call from an unknown number. It was Ben. "Hi, Ashley," he said in the quietest voice I'd ever heard from him. "We haven't really talked much, but can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said carefully. "Did you really pay for everything? The deposit, the flowers, all of it?" I paused. "Yes?" There was silence on the other end. Then, "They told my dad it was your idea, that you offered, that it was something you wanted to do." I went cold. "I didn't offer," I said slowly. they asked. And I said yes. I didn't expect anything in return. But I definitely didn't do it for show. Ben exhaled. My dad is furious. He thought it was just a generous gesture you made voluntarily. But now, knowing it was someone they basically cornered into paying, he said he wouldn't have agreed to the restaurant if he'd known. I said nothing. He told me Kate and her parents made my family look like fools. Another pause. I'm not calling to get involved, he added quickly. I just thought you should know. And I'm sorry. I didn't really understand what was happening tonight. But now that I think back, the way Kate talks about you, it's never with respect. I thanked him and hung up, but the fallout was just beginning. Over the next few days, things escalated faster than I'd expected and in a direction my family likely hadn't anticipated. It started in the group chat. That big family thread, usually buzzing with recycled birthday messages, blurry photos of food, and Happy Friday texts from my aunt. It had been silent since dinner night until suddenly it wasn't. Mom, Ashley, we need to talk. Call me when you can. Kate, you really ruined things with Ben's family. You owe us a fix. Dad, this is spiraling. Just apologize so we can move on. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't about a chair. It wasn't even about the bill. It was about everything that came before it, the years of being treated as the emergency contact, the designated driver, the backup wallet. And now that I finally said no, they had no idea what to do with me. What made it worse or better, depending how you look at it, was that Ben's father was not someone who took humiliation lightly. According to information I gathered from one of Kristin's friends, a man named Peter, Mr. Fisher, Ben's father, had a meltdown the night after the dinner. Mr. Fisher was a respected businessman with over 30 years in the local construction industry. He'd paid for Ben's private school, helped him start his marketing firm, and had gone out of his way to help plan a smooth, elegant engagement season. And now, he'd learned that the bride's side had lied about who was paying for the venue, treated his family with disrespect, and after I refused to cover the remainder, they had the audacity to bill him for half the drinks. Peter said that at brunch the next day, Mr. Fisher said something like, "If this is how they treat their own blood, I can't even imagine what they'll do to my son after marriage." Ouch. The ripple effects hit Kate like a freight train. Suddenly, wedding plans were put on pause, Ben moved back to his apartment for mental clarity, and her Pinterest boards quietly disappeared. That spring wedding she'd spent years dreaming about? Scrapped. Mom went into damage control mode. She didn't text or leave a voicemail, she sent an actual email. Subject line, a request. It was 5 paragraphs of sugar-dusted manipulation. How they never meant to hurt me. How they didn't realize I felt excluded. How much it would mean if I'd just be willing to sit down with Kate and sort things out for the sake of the family. Nowhere in the email did it say, "I'm sorry." Just, "We didn't realize. You misunderstood. Let's not let one bad night ruin what we've built." I stared at that last line for a while. What exactly had we built? Was it the bond where I drove 3 hours on Christmas Eve with a trunk full of presents because Kate wasn't in a mental state to shop for anyone? Or the one where I canceled a trip to Spain 2 years ago because Dad needed surgery and they couldn't afford a home nurse? Or the one where I co-signed twice for a second car they needed, which Kate drove and never paid a single cent for? I left the email sitting in my inbox. I didn't reply. 2 days later, I got a call from my Aunt Susan. It surprised me. She wasn't exactly the warm, fuzzy type. Sharp, efficient, ran her own interior design firm, always with an air of barely concealed judgment. We hadn't spoken in over a year. "Ashley," she said, "I heard about the dinner." "I'm sure you did," I said. trying not to sound bitter. "I'm not calling to scold you," she said quickly. "I just wanted to say it was about damn time someone shook the tree. That caught me off guard." She sighed and said, "Look, I know what your parents are like. Always sweeping things under the rug. Always pretending everything's fine. But they've leaned on you way too much for far too long. And Kate's gotten away with treating you like a background character her whole life." "Thank you," I said quietly. "But why now?" "Because now the Fishers are involved," she said dryly. "And your mother is panicking. She called me yesterday. Asked if I could talk some sense into you." I raised an eyebrow. "And what did you say to her?" "I said you don't need talking to. What you need is space. And maybe it's time they learned how to function without using you as a scaffold." It was the first time someone in my family actually saw me. Not as a checkbook, not as a punching bag. Just as a human being. But Aunt Susan didn't stop there. "Ashley, there's something else I need to tell you," she said, her voice serious. "Something you don't know. About your grandmother, your mother's mother." My heart began to pound. My grandmother Beth had passed away when I was 12. As far back as I could remember, she had always treated me with special warmth. "She left a will," Aunt Susan continued. "There's a trust fund in your name. It was meant for your college education and available to you freely after you turn 25. But your parents..." "What?" "They used it. For Kate's college, for a car loan, for the mortgage. Without ever telling you." I gripped the phone tightly. "How much was it?" "It was originally $150,000. With interest, by now it would be close to $300,000. It felt like the world was spinning. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because after what happened tonight, I couldn't stay silent anymore. You think you've contributed nothing to this family, but the truth is they've been living off you. And they still sat you by the trash." After I hung up, I sat on the couch for a long time. Everything started to make sense. Why they always turned to me for financial help. Why they never seemed to feel guilty about using me. Why Kate was always treated like royalty. Later that night, I received another text. This time from Kate. "Kate, Ashley, Ben's dad just canceled the deposit on the wedding venue. He said we're not aligned in values. Please fix this. Can you help? My life is falling apart. No apology. Just fix this." And that's when I realized she still didn't get it. She still saw me as a tool in the toolbox, or pressure valve, a breathing wallet. So I decided I would fix something, just not in the way she meant. That night, I went looking through Dad's old file cabinet, searching for my grandmother's will. If Aunt Susan was telling the truth, I had a right to see a copy. Sure enough, buried in the back of the basement, I found the paperwork for the trust fund with my name on it. My grandmother had left $150,000 for my education and future. A handwritten note was attached. "Ashley is a special girl. Never take her kindness and sense of responsibility for granted." My hands trembled. She had seen me. She had understood the loneliness I felt in my own family. The next morning, I spoke to a lawyer. The situation was complicated, but the misappropriation of the trust fund was clear. I could have pursued legal action, but that would have scorched every remaining bridge. Instead, I made a different plan. First, I shut down the joint bank account Kate and I had once used when she was unemployed. Her gym membership and Spotify subscription had still been auto-drafting from my account. It wasn't much, but it mattered. The next morning, Kate called 4 times in a row. "What did you do?" Her voice was panicked. I said nothing. "Ashley, I was supposed to go to dinner with Ben tonight. I'm trying to fix things, and my card isn't working. The bank says the account doesn't exist. I know, I said calmly. I closed it. What? You can't do that. I can, I said evenly. And I did. You said I'm not family. And if I'm not family, you don't get to use my money. She was silent for a moment. Then she shifted tactics. Ashley, please don't do this. You're just jealous. Admit it. You've always hated that I get more attention. And now that Ben's dad is on my side, you're throwing a tantrum. I actually laughed. Kate, do you really think he's on your side? Silence. Then I added, don't worry. You've always landed on your feet. Maybe Mom can open a new line of credit in your name. Or Ben's dad can teach you how to stand on your own. And I hung up. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't Kate. It was an email from Ben. Subject, we need to talk. I stared at it for a while before opening it. The subject line felt ominous, like it was ushering in something big, something I might not be ready for. But curiosity and a strange sense of closure got the better of me. It was longer than I expected, polite but personal, and had the tone of someone clearly shaken. He said he now realized just how uncomfortable that dinner had been and admitted that he hadn't noticed how I was being treated until everything fell apart. I was so focused on creating the perfect night, he wrote, that I missed the bigger picture. He confirmed his father had been furious. But it wasn't just about the money, it was about the principle. He wrote, if they can publicly humiliate the person who funded that night both emotionally and financially, then I need to seriously reconsider who I'm about to marry. Ben didn't hold back. He said Kate initially brushed it off as a misunderstanding. But once his father requested a screenshot of the receipt from the restaurant manager, the lies started unraveling. Kate had told him I insisted on paying. That I didn't want to sit at the main table because I was shy. That I had to leave early due to a work emergency. But after I spoke with the waiter myself, yes, I called the restaurant, the story fell apart entirely. Then came the part I hadn't expected. Last night, I ended the engagement. I blinked. He explained that it wasn't just the dinner. The whole situation had pulled back the curtain on behaviors he had once excused. The casual entitlement. The way Kate spoke about me behind my back. The way his concerns were always minimized. She kept telling me you were overreacting, he said. But honestly, you were the only one who responded with dignity. He ended the message with a short note. I'm not telling you this to defend myself or drag you into more drama. I just thought you deserved to know. I see it now. And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I sat there for a long time rereading it. Not because I couldn't believe it, but because I wasn't used to being believed. The next few weeks were strangely quiet. The family group chat was completely dead. Kate tried to call twice more, but when I didn't answer, she stopped. I heard through the grapevine she'd moved back home. Ben returned the ring. His father sent formal cancellation notices to the venue and vendors. A few of Kate's old friends who had been riding Ben's social connections faded completely. I thought that was the end, that things would just settle into silence. But one Sunday morning, there was a knock at my door. It was Mom. She stood on the porch in a long cardigan, holding a Tupperware of lasagna like a peace offering. Her eyes were puffy, her makeup worn thin. I didn't say anything. I just opened the door slightly and waited. I brought dinner, she said. I didn't reach for it. I just wanted to talk. No excuses. That part surprised me. I let her in. She sat at my kitchen table, like she had when I was a kid. Same nervous hands, same forced smile. But this time, there was no passive-aggressive commentary. No, you're just tired, or she didn't mean it. She cleared her throat. I owe you an apology. I crossed my arms. Just one? Her face tightened, but she nodded. Fair. Probably more than one. She took a breath. I didn't see it. Not because it wasn't there, but because I didn't want to. Kate is loud. She takes up space. And you never asked for anything. You just did. You handled things, you showed up. We started treating you like a safety net. Something we could just assume would always be there. It's about safety nets, I said. People only notice them when they're falling. Never when they're climbing. Her lip trembled. She looked down at her hands. Your dad and I were wrong. We let Kate get away with too much. We let her treat you like less. I remained quiet. You can't undo it, my mother said. Lasagna and an apology won't fix years of inequality. But I just wanted you to know I see it now. And I'm sorry. I looked at her for a long moment. For the first time in my life, she wasn't deflecting. She wasn't redirecting. She wasn't protecting Kate. She wasn't telling me to lower my voice or move on. She just sat there and owned it. I gave a slow nod. Thank you. We didn't talk for much longer after that. She left the lasagna on the counter. I walked her to the door. She didn't ask me to forgive Kate. She didn't ask me to call her. She just said, "Take care of yourself," and drove off. But what I didn't know then was that her visit was just the beginning of something deeper. 3 days later, Aunt Susan called me again. Ashley, have a seat, she said, skipping pleasantries. There's more you need to know. My stomach sank. Your mother called me yesterday. She said, she thinks it's time you knew about the trust. She knew? Ashley, not only did she know, she was the one who suggested it. It was her idea to borrow from the trust for Kate's tuition. The world tilted again. It was supposed to be temporary at first, Susan continued. But then Kate needed a car. Your dad's hours got cut. They started falling behind on the mortgage. And it snowballed. So they knew this whole time that I was financially supporting them with my own money? Yes. And now your mother is terrified. After everything that happened, she's realized she might have lost you for good. I clutched the phone tightly. Why is she trying to tell the truth now? Because Kate's having a meltdown. After Ben ended the engagement, she completely fell apart. Quit her job, moved back home, hasn't left her room in days. Your mom says this is something Kate finally needs to face. That these are consequences she has to live through. That surprised me. Is Kate okay? It wasn't the question I thought I'd ask. Not after everything. But I still cared. She will be, Susan said. But for this family to heal, the truth has to come out. And real growth needs to happen. After the call, I was caught in a swirl of emotions: anger, sorrow, and oddly enough, relief. The truth was finally surfacing. But what I didn't know was that Mom's crisis of conscience was just the beginning of a journey that would change all of us. The following week was far more dramatic than I expected. On Tuesday night, Mom called. Ashley, she said, her voice shaking. I'm worried about Kate. She hasn't come out of her room in 5 days. She's not eating. She hasn't showered. We think she needs help. What kind of help? Professional help. A therapist. But she refuses to go. She keeps saying this is all your fault. I took a deep breath. Mom, I'm not stepping in to fix Kate's problems anymore. It's not that, she said quickly. It's not. I'm trying to find a therapist. For myself. For this family. To understand how we got here. That stunned me. You are? Yes, and your dad agreed. We want to make things right. No more hiding, no more excuses. I was quiet for a long time. What about Kate? She's not ready to accept help, but we know we need to start whether she's ready or not. Then, she said something I didn't expect. Ashley, would you come with us? To the first session? Me? Yes, you're hurt too. And we need your perspective to truly understand what we did to you. I thought about it overnight. The next day, I said yes. Dr. Hilary Morgan's office was painted in soft beiges and calming blues, with gentle lighting and comfortable chairs. She was in her early 50s, warm, observant, and had over 20 years of experience in family therapy. We sat in a circle, me, Mom, Dad. Kate's chair was empty. Thank you for coming today, Dr. Morgan said. This is a courageous first step. Let's begin by understanding why we're here. Mom spoke first. She talked about the dinner, the fallout afterward. But this time, she also talked about the patterns years of taking me for granted. I'm not here to justify myself, she said. I'm here to understand why I kept prioritizing one child over the other, why I interpreted Ashley's kindness as weakness. Dad spoke next. He was always a quiet man, but his words carried weight. I was afraid, he admitted. Every time Kate spiraled, I felt like I had to shield her. But Ashley always handled things herself. I didn't think she needed help. But she didn't ask for help, Dr. Morgan observed. She offered help. Do you see the difference? Then it was my turn to speak. I thought if I just kept giving, kept contributing, I'd finally be part of the family. That if I proved my worth, I'd be included. But over time, I just became a bank account, the emergency contact, the problem solver, but not a daughter, not a sister. Ashley, Dr. Morgan said gently, why do you think you kept accepting that role? I thought for a long time. Because I wanted to be loved, in any form I could get it. The silence in that room was heavy. Dr. Morgan gave us homework. Before our next session, we each had to write down what we wanted from a healthy family relationship. The day before session 2, something unexpected happened. Kate called me. Ashley, her voice was the smallest I'd ever heard it. Mom and Dad said they're seeing a therapist. Yes. I think I want to go too. I was stunned. Really? I'm confused. Everything's falling apart, and I don't understand why. Ben left. My friends are avoiding me. Everyone says it's my fault. I didn't know what to say. Ashley, I never meant to hurt you that night. I wasn't thinking. That's the problem, Kate. You weren't thinking. I know, her voice broke. Now I know. At the next session, all 4 of us were there. Dr. Morgan began by reviewing our homework. Mom had written about boundaries, about seeing each child as an individual. Dad had written about responsibility, or about not letting fear dictate his parenting. I wrote about mutual respect, that love isn't the same as unconditional servitude. Kate wrote an apology. But it wasn't just "I'm sorry." It was detailed, specific, evidence that she was beginning to understand. I felt entitled, she read aloud. I built my life on the assumption that Ashley would always be there. I saw her kindness as weakness, her generosity as something I could rely on without thanks. I didn't see her as a person. I saw her as a tool. The room was quiet. And the worst part is, she continued, I knew. Deep down, I knew. But it was easier to blame her than to face what I was doing. Dr. Morgan looked around at us. This is significant progress, but understanding and changing are not the same. A real healing takes time, and most importantly, consistent effort from everyone. At the third session, I brought up the trust fund. My mother and father turned pale. Kate looked confused. "Wait," Kate said, "what trust fund?" I explained everything: the money my grandmother had left me, how my parents used it, and how I had never known for years. Kate stared at our parents. So when Ashley was supporting us, it was actually her own money? Technically, Dad said quietly. Not technically, Dr. Morgan said firmly. It was clearly her money, and they used it without her permission and without her knowledge. Kate began to cry. So my college, my car, everything, it was all paid for by my sister? Yes, I said softly. And I treated you so terribly, after everything you gave me. It was a heavy moment, but Dr. Morgan gently steered us forward. Now we have an important decision to make, she said. How will we move forward with this information? Will we use it as a weapon for revenge or as a starting point for healing? I took a deep breath. I could pursue legal action, I said. But that would destroy this family. So what do you want to do? Dr. Morgan asked. I want to be repaid. But more than anything, I want real change. Not just words, actions. Mom leaned forward. We'll agree to any repayment plan. And Ashley, I promise you we will change. As a family, we'll change how we treat one another. The next few months weren't easy. We continued therapy bi-weekly, sometimes all together, sometimes in smaller groups. Each session peeled back new layers of truth and pain. Kate began individual therapy as well. She had to confront deep patterns of entitlement and manipulation. It wasn't just about our family, it was about how she approached relationships as a whole. I want to change, she told me one day. But I don't know how to start. Start small, I said. Take responsibility. Think about what you can give before asking for anything. She nodded, and she really began to try. She started applying for jobs seriously this time. Not stopgap jobs, but something she could build a career with. She apologized to old friends, people she had used. She began helping around our parents' house. Then, she presented a repayment plan to me. $300 a month, she said. It's not a lot. It's not even comfortable for me. But it's manageable, and it's proof I'm serious. I was moved. That amount was a significant portion of her new paycheck. Mom and Dad were changing, too. They started sending me monthly repayments, not large, but consistent. More importantly, they stopped treating me like an emergency wallet. There were hiccups. At Thanksgiving, some old patterns resurfaced. When Mom asked Kate to help with the dishes, she reflexively said, "Why not have Ashley do it? She's better at it anyway." The room went silent. Kate caught herself. Her cheeks flushed. "I'm sorry," she said. "Old habits. I'll do it." It was a small moment, but it meant a lot. She recognized her pattern and corrected it. In the spring, I had an unexpected encounter. I ran into Ben at a coffee shop. "Ashley," he said, approaching. "How are you?" "Doing all right," I replied. "You?" "I'm good. Actually, really good," he smiled. "Do you have time to talk?" We sat down. "I've heard Kate is trying to change," he said. "She is. It's a process. But she's making the effort." "I heard she's seeing a therapist. That's a good thing." I asked him. "Why are you asking?" He sighed. "Because I'm still trying to figure things out. I loved her. But the person I saw that night, That wasn't the person I thought I loved. How do you feel now? I'm wondering if people can change. Really change. I thought for a long moment. I think people can change when they truly want to. But it takes time. And proof. Words aren't enough. He nodded. I think I want to talk to her. Not to get back together, don't misunderstand. But for closure. And if she really is changing, I'd like to acknowledge that. A few weeks later, Kate called me. Ashley, I spoke to Ben. How did it go? It was hard. But it was good. I gave him a real apology. No excuses. And he said he can see I'm trying. And? We're not getting back together, she said. But we parted as friends. And that feels better than anything before. A year after the dinner, we gathered again. But this time, at my house. I was hosting. It was a small gathering, me, my parents, Kate, Aunt Susan. And surprisingly, Ben. He and Kate had reconnected as friends. And in fact, Ben was now dating Kate's new boyfriend's friend, Matt. Matt was gentle, thoughtful, and unlike the kind of man Kate had gravitated to in the past. We all laughed at the irony. During dinner, I noticed the change. Kate was asking questions, not just talking about herself, but showing real interest in others. She asked about my new hobbies, the painting class I had started. Mom paused before asking me to do anything. She caught herself and offered help instead. Dad spoke to me during quiet moments. Really spoke not just about the weather or work, but about his feelings, his memories. And most importantly, no one expected me to pay. In fact, when the check came, Kate reached for it, and we all split it together. After dessert, Kate pulled me aside. Ashley, I want to give you something. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check, a large one. What is this? I got a bonus, she said, and I want to speed up the repayments. It's not everything yet, but it's a start. I was touched. Kate, you should use that money for yourself. No, she said firmly. This is something I need to do. You gave me so much, not just money, but unconditional love. Now it's my turn to give back. I had changed too. Through therapy, I had learned that my value wasn't tied to what I could do for others. I learned to set boundaries, to say no. Most importantly, I learned to ask for what was good for me. I started dating cautiously, but with intention. I traveled. I pursued hobbies. I stopped living only for my family. And interestingly, the less I needed them, the more they seemed to value me. The less available I made myself, the more they recognized what I had always given. I finally took that long postponed trip to Spain. 2 weeks. Alone, it was freeing. When I got back, I had a string of messages from my family saying they missed me, that they were worried, that they were happy I was home. They were the most sincere messages I'd ever received from them. Kate and Matt's relationship became a real test of her growth. Matt was a man with boundaries. He was generous but not a pushover. He was kind but didn't allow himself to be used. At first, Kate tried to revert to her old patterns, expecting him to solve her problems, taking his kindness for granted, pushing against his limits with subtle manipulation. But Matt didn't allow it, and amazingly Kate respected that. He makes me want to be better, she told me one day. He holds me accountable, but he loves me. I've never had that combination before. What do you mean? I mean, Ben loved me. But he didn't challenge me, at least not until the very end. And our family, well, you know, but Matt asks me to be my best self. And he believes I can be. And that was something beautiful. And the best part of Kate's relationship with Matt was that she didn't try to mold it into our family's old patterns. She didn't pressure Matt to meet us. She didn't pressure us to accept him. She let the relationship be its own thing. So when we finally met him, it felt natural. No pressure. No one trying to impress him. No one trying to use him. It was just a normal family dinner. The biggest change, though, was visible in our parents. Dad had been working on becoming emotionally available. He started having real conversations with me about my work, my interests, my feelings. He began to talk about his fears and how they had shaped his parenting. "I was afraid you'd outgrow needing me," he said one day. "So when Kate had problems, I felt proud that I could fix them. But you didn't seem to have problems, so I felt like I had nothing to offer you. Dad, I just wanted you to be proud of me." "Oh, sweetheart, I always was. I just didn't know how to show it." Mom was working on her own relationship with her mother, my grandmother. "My mom loved you so much," she told me one day. "She saw something special in you. And I think I was jealous." "Jealous?" "You were the kind of child she always wanted, responsible, thoughtful, gentle. I was always loud, impulsive, dramatic. And I expected you to be the same, to demand loudly. But that wasn't you." She wiped away tears. "My mom saw you. Truly saw you. And for a long time I didn't. I'm so sorry." We visited Grandma Beth's grave together. We placed fresh flowers on her stone and told her that we were learning to see what she had seen all along. 18 months later, something unexpected happened. Kate and Ben started talking again, as friends. But there was something there. "I'm confused," Kate told me. "We're friends, good friends. But I think he might still care. And I know I still care." "How do you feel about that?" "Scared," she admitted. "Because I hurt him before. And now I know better. But will he believe that?" I looked at her and I didn't see the selfish, manipulative sister I grew up with. I saw a woman who had grown, who had truly changed. "Kate, I think you should talk to him. Honestly. Hold nothing back." "You think so?" "Yes, but don't cling to the outcome. If he wants to try again, that's wonderful. If he doesn't, that's okay too. You've changed. That's true whether he comes back or not." A few weeks later, Kate had a long, honest conversation with Ben. She apologized again. She talked about her growth, what she had learned. Most importantly, she didn't pressure him. "I'm not asking for anything from you," she said. "I just wanted you to know, I'm different now. And I'm deeply sorry for what I did to you." Ben asked for time. Kate gave it to him, no pushing, no manipulation, no drama. And months later, they started dating again. Slowly, very slowly, with care. 2 years after the first engagement dinner, we started a new tradition for Thanksgiving. Before dinner, we all sat together and shared something we were truly grateful for, not surface things. Real, deep gratitude. Mom said, "I'm thankful we found the courage to tell hard truths. And that we're learning to love each other anyway." Dad said, "I'm thankful I'm learning to stop parenting from fear. And that my daughters are braver than I ever was." Kate said, "I'm thankful my family didn't give up on me. That you gave me a chance to grow. And that Ashley showed me what real love looks like." I said, "I'm thankful that we've learned healing is possible. It takes time, but it's possible. And that I finally feel like I belong in this family." Ben said, "I'm thankful I've learned people can change. And that second chances and sometimes third do exist." It was a beautiful moment. After dinner, Kate and Ben made an announcement. "We're engaged again," Kate said. "But this time it's different. This time we know who we are, and we know how to love in a healthy way." The room erupted in cheers. But it was the kind of joy born from redemption, not desperation or manipulation. And the best part? No one asked me if I would be paying for the wedding. In fact, Kate and Ben were planning a small, intimate ceremony. One they could afford, one they wanted. Their wedding took place 3 years after that disastrous dinner. It was small, our backyard, 40 guests. Kate had decided she didn't want a big, flashy event. She wanted something meaningful, something real. And it was. I was her maid of honor, an honor that genuinely surprised me. "Why me?" I asked her. "Because you showed me what real love looks like," she said. "Love with boundaries, with respect, and because you believed I could change. You didn't give up on me." During the ceremony, I thought about how far we'd come. There we were, a healed family. Not perfect, we still had work to do. But we were whole. We were honest. We loved each other. When Kate read her vows, she cried, "Ben, I promise never to take you for granted, never to use you. I see you as a person, not a tool. And I will work every day to be the woman you deserve." It was beautiful. At the reception, the most beautiful moment happened. As people were giving speeches, Kate stood up. "I want to say something," she said. She looked at me. "Ashley, I wouldn't be here today without you. You showed me what unconditional love really looks like. Love with boundaries. You taught me that real change is possible." She paused. "3 years ago, I sat you by a trash can. It was the most shameful moment of my life. But it was also the most important because it led us here." She wiped her tears. "So everyone, please raise a glass to my sister, the woman who taught me what family truly means." The whole room stood and toasted to me. And I cried. Happy tears. A year later, Kate and Ben announced they were expecting their first child. I was going to be an aunt. "We want you to be the godmother," Kate said. "Really?" "Yes, we want our child to learn what true unconditional love looks like, to learn healthy boundaries, and to know how family should treat one another." It was a big responsibility, but I was honored. And when the baby was born, a beautiful girl, they named her Beth, after our grandmother. And I knew what kind of family she was being born into. One filled with love, with healthy boundaries, with mutual respect. Beth would never be seated by the trash. And through all of this, I found love of my own. His name is Oliver. We met at a local charity where I volunteer. He's kind, brilliant, independent. And most importantly, he doesn't see me as a bank account. On our first date, he insisted we split the bill. "I'm not old-fashioned," he said. "I'm fair." I fell for him. Oliver stood beside me through every change in my family. He didn't attend therapy with us, but he helped me process everything at home. "Your family is lucky," he said one day. "Why?" "Because you didn't give up on them. You gave them the chance to grow." "They didn't give up on me," I replied. "Yeah, but only because you opened the door. You could have chosen revenge, but instead you chose healing." We got married last fall. A small ceremony with my family and his. And my family welcomed him with open arms, not to use him, not to project expectations onto him. It was beautiful. So what did I learn from all of this? First, love is not unconditional service. True love has boundaries. True love demands mutual respect. Second, people can change if they truly want to. But that change isn't easy or fast. It takes time, effort, and often, professional help. Third, family dynamics are complex. Sometimes, the people who hurt you are also the ones who can help you heal. Fourth, telling the truth, even when it hurts, is the first step toward healing. Fifth, revenge might bring momentary satisfaction, but healing brings lasting peace. And most importantly, I am worthy of love. Without conditions, without needing to prove it. Not for what I give, but for who I am. It took me 34 years to learn that. Today, I'm 39. I still work in finance, but now, on my terms. I'm no one's emergency ATM anymore. I'm no longer a supporting character in someone else's story. I'm the main character in my own.